This is the Bat Flip Podcast. Now here's your host, Damien, David, and Matt. Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the Bat Flip Podcast. Damien, David, and Matt here with you today. We got some wild division races and wild card races that have been shaken up really over the past week or so. We have a legend of the game retiring, which we will talk about, and then another legend of the game hit a big milestone homer for finally that we've been waiting on for a long time, and we'll get into that. But before we get into all that, Matt, you look a little bit different today. So what's going on here?
Yeah. So what is not a legend of the game is my computer. It has decided to not work today. It's just crashing constantly, making a weird rattling sound. I think I need a new cooling system in it or something. But
yep.
In the meantime, I'm currently on my phone recording here, and I've got my Fangraphs pulled up on my work computer. So that's going to be interesting. Hopefully everything stays intact and the connection doesn't give me problems. And it was giving me problems a minute ago, but I took off Wi-Fi off my phone because I'm downstairs and the cellular data has a little bit better coverage downstairs. So I am hopefully everything will go smoothly. I am doing okay this week. Thanks for asking, Damien. Everything's been good. I'm kind of angry that the Braves have decided to all of a sudden win like every single game for the last 2 or 3 weeks in order to not get the best draft odds. And after they get eliminated from playoff contention. So that's always, just a wonderful thing. But yeah, everything's been good. And watching a lot of football, and sorry to David for his Clemson Tigers. My Auburn Tigers did not win this week, but it was not as bad as the Clemson Tigers. So, David, how's your week been?
Well, excluding that, it's one of those where my team finally clinched their playoff berth and immediately forgot how to play. They somehow had a 4-day hangover. I'm not sure how that's possible, but
it's one hell of a party.
I'm looking forward to this week's Thursday episode of the college football show for Bat Flip Entertainment. I think that one will be entertaining, and I'm in talks to try and hop on there and share some Clemson thoughts, of which I have many, but very disappointing Saturday for sure. So, how you doing, Damien?
I'm doing great. Fantasy Dynasty champion finally for the first time in 6 years over here. I've lost twice in the finals. I thought it was going to be that way again. It was a really close game until Friday, but we pulled away and we did it. So the Baker Show Blaze are on top. Everyone acknowledge me. Yeah, my college football teams did good. I got a big week this week with 2 big games: Oregon and Happy Valley, whiteout game against Penn State, and then LSU versus Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Both gonna be wild. But
I have a little bit of a sidebar here before we get started with the baseball portion of the show, which is the purpose of the show. Did y'all see that LSU's linebacker is dating Lane Kiffin's daughter, and they just announced it today?
No, it's been out there for a couple weeks, but yeah, they officially hard launched it on one game week, which is hilarious. Oh, they said someone's playing mind games and we aren't sure which one it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. And if you're interested in Clemson talk, we had a big discussion last week on the last episode of the College Football Show, Hank and I, about Dabo Sweeney and if it was time to move on or not. And we kind of both disagreed a little bit on our takes. He had one side, I was on the other. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. And maybe David will get on one of these times and do his rant. But yeah, Matt, I mean, you had to face the legendary Heisman contender John Mateer this week, who I've been raving about on the show as well. So yeah, go check that out over there. But let's get to baseball, right? Let's talk about baseball, because this final week this week leading into the final week here has been kind of crazy, right? You guys talked last week how kind of made fun a little bit more about the Mets and their collapse. Well, that collapse continued over the past week with them going 4-6, while the Cincinnati Reds have went 6-4. The Reds have now jumped into controlling possession of that final wild card spot technically they're in a tie with the Mets. They own the tiebreaker over them for going 4-2 during the regular season. The Arizona Diamondbacks are only one game back as well there. It's going to be interesting. Reds have 3 against Pittsburgh and 3 at Milwaukee this week. The Mets have 3 at Chicago and 3 at Miami. And then Arizona has 3 versus LA and then 3 at San Diego. Then San Francisco, Miami's kind of on the back end there. They still mathematically alive, but odds are not likely in their favor. But Matt, we know this is the only reason you want to jump on your phone to continue to come on the show was just because you wanted to talk more about how the New York Mets are collapsing.
Yeah, I mean, at this point with the Mets, it's so much mental too. Obviously, the pitching has been kind of a mess the whole season for them. It started off hot, but there was a lot of red flags about it. And midway through the season, it started to tail off. And I think they just, I mean, at this point, there's just a lot of, there's no momentum, and they've blown so much of this lead. I think it's one of those things where it really is a collapse, and it's all mental. And I mean, they're losing games like 3-2 yesterday to the Nationals, where they got home runs robbed late in the ninth inning. I mean, it was Jacob Young just had an insane ninth inning. So and it was just crazy. Like, I haven't seen anything like this collapse. The Mets were something like, I believe I saw it earlier, I don't have my notes in front of me because my computer's dead, but I think they were 45-24 at one point. And this is the first time they have been out of a playoff spot since April 5th, I believe is what I read.
Yeah.
So, which is just mind blowing that, that team collapsed with the payroll that they have, with the star talent they have. Mm-hmm. They didn't add at the deadline except for relievers, and they didn't pick the right ones because Ryan Helsley has been a disaster. I believe Tyler Rogers has been pretty good, but it really has been a collapse. And at the same time, the Mets, I mean, the Reds have always hung in there all year. They've stayed around 500 all year. The pitching has improved as the season's gone on and has looked really good in the second half after, the addition of Chase Burns midseason. Hunter Green's healthy now. They got better. And I think that I think the Reds have a really good shot to pull this off. And not to mention, the Diamondbacks are only one game back, and the Diamondbacks have the offensive firepower even after trading Eugenio Suarez at the deadline and Josh Naylor at the deadline. They still got that firepower in their lineup, and they've got pedigree with some of their pitchers too, especially in the postseason. I mean, I know Zach Gallen hadn't had the best year, but postseason wise, he's solid. And then, of course, if you look at, the last thing, I do want to shout out the Marlins. If you had told me before the season the Marlins were going to be alive for the playoffs in the last week of the season, I would have thought you were crazy. And they're still alive. It's a long shot, but they're still alive. It's really remarkable what they've done this year.
Yeah, I find it really interesting because I'm looking at the wins above replacement leaderboard in particular, and there are 2 Diamondbacks in the top 10, and there are 2 Mets in the total top 12. You got Soto, Lindor, and then you've got Carroll and Geraldo Perdomo. Like, some of the best players in baseball are on these teams that are, fighting to just get into the playoffs. And that makes for an incredible story, but it also it's frustrating that, we called that the Mets were going to struggle down the stretch. I don't think any of us expected them to completely fall out of the playoffs, but we're at the point where, like, it doesn't matter what Juan Soto does. He's almost going to go 40-40, which before the season, if you had said Juan Soto is about to have a 40-40, 7-war season for the Mets, I would have said the Mets are going to win 105 games because that extra impact put into that lineup has to galvanize, right? But it just simply hasn't. And you've got Pete Alonso getting close to 40 home runs again. You've got Lindor with another, really, really strong season. It's just, for whatever reason, like, it's so clearly the pitching, and we talked about that all year long, right? If you followed along with us, we've been harping on the Mets pitching. We've been harping that they needed to do more in the offseason. Like, that was my whole point. It was right when they signed Juan Soto. I was like, okay, but that doesn't address your main problem, which is why you didn't win in the National League Championship Series last year. So, it feels like, in spite of everything, they learned nothing, is where I'm at. And let's shout out the Reds. And while I'm here, let's shout out the Reds. They just went and swept the Cubs. It stunk, but the Cubs are already locked in, and there's almost nothing the Cubs can really do the rest of the way. They just need to win a couple more games, get to 90 probably, and they're locked into wild card one. So I think they were a little uninspired this weekend, and the Reds are playing like for their playoff hopes. So, big games for sure for the Reds, but I mean, Hunter Green and Andrew Abbott have just been insanely good. Nick Lodolo too. That's a very formidable playoff rotation that might just, have a chance to. It's probably going to be Reds versus Dodgers, right? Damien's shaking his head. Like that's not a pitching staff you want to go up against. Now, the good news for you, Damien, is I doubt they'll throw 3 complete games. And if the Dodgers offense gets the Reds bullpen, I think it's over. But it's going to make the games a lot more stressful for you.
I will say if the Reds get to the Dodgers bullpen, it might be over too. The Dodgers starters might throw complete games. Who knows? But the way they've been pitching, but both bullpens are kind of bad here. But I was the highest on the Reds coming into the year. I didn't officially pick them as a wild card team, but I said I would not be surprised at that time had they competed. And got close to that, right? Like I think I had them finishing second in the NL Central. I had the Cubs winning and then them second. But I said this Reds team I felt was going to be pretty competitive. And I think Terry Francona has made a big difference for that team. Yeah. I think and that was something I really highlighted coming into the year. I want to see the Reds get to the playoffs, but maybe not this year because I don't want to see them face my team. I'd much rather face the Mets.
Would you rather face the Mets with like a second life and with their star power on offense and Lindor and Soto and Alonso, or because the Reds, while they have been a great story and they've won a lot of games recently and they've got the pitching, I just don't think their offense is going to hold up in a playoff series against top pitchers.
Well, my thing is in a 3-game series, anything can happen. And if you have elite starting pitching, it can make all the difference. Yeah. Right. Like if you're telling me it's a 5 or 7 game series, I would say, okay, maybe take the Reds over the star power offense of those. But you got to think, you're going into a thing. I feel like LA, the starting pitching that they can run out, right? They're going to throw out some combination of Ohtani, Yamamoto, Snell. Most likely. That's most likely going to be the 3 through it. And you have Glasnow as the other guy there. I feel like they can hold up pretty well against a good offense, right? Where in postseason we see many times good pitching beats good hitting.
Yeah,
I don't want to see good pitching again. I would rather face the worst pitching and the better offense with the starters that they're right now. But
look, Matt, the guy that you got to worry about is the second half edition Miguel Andujar for the Reds. Dude, all right, he's got a 164 WRC plus.
It's not even that. It's like you got to watch Miguel Andujar. Will Benson for some reason turns into like Barry Bonds against the Dodgers for some reason. Like the Reds have played the Dodgers very competitive this year. They've always been a team that kind of plays the Dodgers very hard anyways. I would much rather, if I was a Dodger fan, or I am, if I'm looking forward to the postseason, I would much rather face the Mets than I would face the Reds, where they're at playing right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you toss the Diamondbacks in there, what do you order? Is it Mets, Diamondbacks, Reds?
Probably Mets, Diamondbacks, Reds.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I'd rather face the Diamondbacks just because I don't feel like they have the pitching to keep up. Like they have Gallen's done really well, but I feel like the rest of the guys.
I think Fott is really good too. I think the Gallen Fott is not easy.
It's not.
I think the Mets are so bad.
It's not easy, but I think the Dodgers have done well against Fott in his career. So that's why I think I would rather have them second above the Reds.
Yeah,
just because that star power of Green and then Abbott and Lodolo with the Dodgers' very left-handed hitting lineups.
Yeah.
Like you have Shohei, you have Freddie Freeman, you have Max Muncy. You throw Abbott and Lodolo out there, that's shutting down a big portion of the offense. And we'll see if Will Smith is back, because obviously he's on the IL with a hairline fracture in his hand. They're saying it could be until the NLCS, if that he's back. So who knows? Both catchers are left-handed hitting too, right? So you're talking about a lot of left-handers that's starting to stack up there.
Yeah, that was my reasoning for wanting the Dodgers to fall down and into the wild card slot where the Cubs would play them. because the Cubs have, a bunch of lefty starters, decent left-handed relief in the bullpen. I was like, I would rather face them. Turns out the Dodgers and the Padres have like the same team WRC plus versus lefties, so it really didn't matter.
Yeah. So now we've been talking about the NL wild card. Let's kind of go to the AL wild card / let's start with the AL West first, because that'll transition us into the wild card talk. We had a big series this last weekend against for Seattle and Houston. Was it a 3-game or 4-game? I had it a 3 games.
It was 3.
Like it was 4. Was it 3?
I think it was.
Let me double check. I feel like for some reason I feel like it was 4, but I want to just make sure. Yeah, Thursday Mariners played Royals, so it was 3. So Seattle ended up sweeping that against Houston. It was in Houston too. 4-0, 6-4, 7-3 were those 3 final scores there.
Mm-hmm.
This basically allowed Seattle to push away in the division. They now have a 3-game lead here. They have the tiebreaker, so it's really a 4-game lead. They're going to win this division. Before we get to talking about the wild card with Houston, there were some other injury things that cropped up throughout this series. Brian Wu left his start in starting the 6th inning, I want to say, with, it says pectoral inflammation. It says he's day-to-day. They're not sure if he's going to start again. They might push him at that point. And where you're at, probably push him to the postseason. Yordan Alvarez has a significant ankle sprain after tripping on a bat, or no, it was on home plate. He tripped on home plate and sprained his ankle really bad. We see in football high ankle sprains, which is what this looked like, 4 to 6 weeks. It's very significant. Wouldn't be surprised if he's maybe out for the postseason.
Yeah, that's not good.
But Houston did get the return of Isaac Paredes, who we thought was going to be out for the year with a torn hamstring. That kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it was like 4 to 6 months timetable for him, and I think he came back in 8 weeks or something. So he did come back there as well. So they do gain a bat there. And then another interesting thing from this series is Cal Raleigh passed Ken Griffey Jr. to become the Mariners' all-time single-season home run leader, and he passed Mickey Mantle this last week for the all-time homers by a switch hitter. So he now leads both of those categories.
What a season!
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's my AL MVP.
There's going to be a lot of discourse on that moving forward, for sure. We'll see. What Judge is doing is also insane, but I mean this is unprecedented from a catcher at all. So we'll have to see on that one, but. Let's use this to transition into the AL wildcard race and AL Central as well. So in the AL Central, Matt, we're talking about the biggest collapse that you had ever seen. There might be one happening in the American League Central too. I think at one point, the Tigers had a 10 or 11 game lead in this division. It is now down to 1 over the Cleveland Guardians, and they have a big 3-game series this week in Cleveland. What's also going to do is this is basically it's a 3-way or 2-way tie for the AL wildcard at the moment, with the Houston Astros and Cleveland Guardians. Boston only has a 1-game lead on that last wildcard spot, but Detroit could fall right into that. Detroit holds the lead over Houston as well as Cleveland does, so Houston's kind of on the back burner there. So it's going to be very, very interesting. But David, what are your thoughts with the Guardians kind of doing it again, kind of coming out of nowhere, leading this charge in the final month to kind of get here, and kind of the Tigers collapse? We're making fun of the Mets collapse, but what about this Tigers collapse? They've gone 1-9 over their last 10 too.
See, the thing about this that differentiates the Tigers from the Mets is that the Tigers are not running a payroll at $340 million, right? The Tigers did not go out and get the best player available in free agency last offseason. That's the difference here. The hope, of course, is that the Tigers are able to find their way into the postseason regardless. They would be able to get a wild card right now. But they are in danger of completely falling out of the playoffs, it's so funny because that would be the exact opposite of the thing that happened to them last year, where they were in this Guardian situation and rolled their way into the postseason at the end with a great, late charge. Cleveland has just they've been doing it behind the the typical, Jose Ramirez, great starting pitching, of course. Tanner Bybee has come alive. We've been doing the player of the day polls, and I've gotten like a Guardians pitcher like every other day this week, like Logan Allen and I think Bybee and Ciccone were all on there. Like, it just an incredible set of starting pitching this season for the Cleveland Guardians, or at least the second half, right? Because early in the season, it was very much a question of whether or not they had enough starting pitching, and the development, the typical Cleveland development that we're seeing from them, getting the most out of the guys that are already on the team, is just outstanding. They've weathered the storm. They've lost, Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase to the gambling stuff, and Cade Smith stepped in, been a great closer, kind of expected, but he's been awesome. And behind J-Ram, I mean, this is definitely a team that can get back to the postseason. They were there last year. They've been there years and years past. They have a lot of experience. It's not surprising that Cleveland's making a run. What's surprising is that that the Tigers are kind of not able to put the games together, because I think we talked about the pressure with the Mets, right? And the Tigers are, I think, struggling into that pressure situation where they just need to get some games, get some wins under their belt here this week to remember how to do it, kind of.
Yeah, I'm with you on all that. The Tigers are a team that I've thought all year had some things going right for them that probably weren't going to keep up the way they were, especially offensively. I mean, when your best bats are Dylan Dingler, Zach McKinstry, obviously Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson have had good years too, but it's hard to continue that all season. And the pitching with Tarek Skubal is pretty top heavy, and the bullpen hadn't been great. So this is a team that I think is, they're a good team, but they were never this like best team in baseball type. And I think that, the Cleveland Guardians, they do this every year. Every single year they find a way to be in it at the end of the season, regardless of the fact that they might have a low payroll. They might trade guys at the deadline. They might trade guys in the offseason. They always end up doing this. And I think that, it's been really impressive to see them, especially in, with the young manager that's only been there a couple years now. Like, it's very impressive to see them perform the way they have here late in the season and make this close. And I mean, like David said, the momentum of the Tigers is such a big deal right now. Are they just panicking? Are they, they've had some tough losses too. Like, they played the Braves this weekend, and a couple of those games, the Braves made big comebacks in. Yeah. And it was just it was some tough losses. The good thing for the Tigers is they still do have a 1-game lead here. And they also have a pretty good chance, if they don't win the division, they do still have a pretty good chance at getting the wild card. So they still have like 85% playoff odds on Fangraphs right now. But the fact that the Guardians, who, by the way, have over 50% odds now, they have a better than 50-50 shot to make the playoffs. Yeah. The fact that the Guardians have been as good as they've been, I mean, losing this division is a big deal. It really is, if they can't pull it off. I mean, what was it, a 14.5 game lead? Is that what it was?
I thought it was 14 games, yeah.
14 games? It was something like that.
That's a big collapse, yeah.
Yeah, but it's as big of a collapse as the Mets made it. I think the biggest thing for me is the Tigers probably still make the playoffs. The Mets, if their collapse holds, they're not making the playoffs. Yep. And as you mentioned, the payroll there being such a big deal, and the fact that their chips are all on the table right now. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. You said the Tigers. I don't have, like I said earlier, I don't have my notes in front of me. The Tigers have 3 against the Guardians this weekend.
No, right? Like this week.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I think. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That's that'll determine this. I mean, the Tigers better get ready. I mean, they better show up for this.
So. It's in Cleveland, and I don't know. Let me see if I don't know if Skubal is going tomorrow. Skubal versus Gavin Williams is tomorrow.
And did we mention that Skubal left his last start, or was that 2 starts ago? It might have been last start.
No, he started since then.
Okay.
And went out fine.
But he's been dealing with some, aches and pains.
Yeah.
And you can't afford him to go down here, but you want him as fresh as possible for the postseason, but it would have been a lot easier to line him up for game 1 of the wild card series if he was, if you were rocking and rolling, and you're not doing that right now. So, it's going to make things tough because now Seattle's going to get a bye probably.
How it's set up basically is Skubal can pitch now, and if they need him, he can pitch on Sunday.
Okay.
If they need him for the last start of the year to clinch their way in or whatever. If not, then he'll be set up they'll probably scratch him on that Sunday to give him into the wild card. But yeah, I mean, it's in Cleveland, so that's going to be a massive deal too. I've already saw a bunch of people on social media, this like Cleveland, even front office people, Cleveland coaching people, like, hey, get to the stadium. Like, we need you this week. So, because they play all 6 at home. It's Detroit and Texas. Detroit's on the road for Cleveland and Boston.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that. And I don't even know, like you said, Detroit could still make the playoffs. And if you struggle here with Cleveland and Boston, Houston has the Athletics and the Angels to end the year.
Right.
So that's 2 really easier opponents to potentially stop that too.
And worth noting that Boston gets the Tigers there. I mean, Boston's only a game up on.
They're only a game up.
Same record as Detroit, and they're only a game up on Cleveland and the Astros for that last wild card spot. So it's like Boston struggles this week too. They could fall out of it, and that would be. I guess that wouldn't be as shocking because Boston's kind of been on the fringe of the playoff contention all season long, and kind of riding Garrett Crochet when it comes to the pitching. They had some injury problems, like Roman Anthony got hurt, and that kind of sapped the wind out of things. But ultimately, I think they still make it. But like, I don't know, man. That this American League is wild because I just don't feel like I'm scared of anybody.
Yeah, I think Boston would have to just have a really bad week because there's a lot of teams they're in front of. Like, say the Guardians do beat the Tigers 2 out of 3 games in order to get to get to where that's the battle for the wild card, and they're facing the Tigers, like they would have a couple games of advantage over the Tigers at that point, probably, if they don't have a horrible week. And same goes for, if the Tigers beat the Guardians 2 out of 3, they're going to have probably a couple game advantage over the Guardians. So if Boston, goes like 1-5 this week or something, then that could end up being,
that could be it.
That could be it. But assuming that they can at least win 2 or 3, I think they're going to be okay because there's just a lot of teams that have to pass them, regardless of them only being 1 game above the last wild card spot. There's just a lot of teams that have to pass them for it to happen.
I mean, I will say Boston has Toronto and Detroit to end the year,
and Toronto's looking to lock up the AL East crown. I think if they win all 3 of these games at Boston, that's it. So they're going to be out to win.
Yeah, and they're still fighting for the number 1 seed. I don't think they've locked that up yet because Seattle's only 3 games behind them, technically. So if it's a bad week, so Toronto's going to play Boston really tough.
Yep.
And then that series in Boston and to end the year is going to be a massive series as well. So this whole wildcard thing could get really shook up. I mean, there's 4 teams battling for kind of 2 spots. 3 spots, I guess.
It's 3 spots. Somebody's going to end up out of the playoffs, but at this point, we don't know who it's going to be. And if it could very well be the Tigers, man, and that would be really disappointing given how this season has gone. That would be really, really disappointing.
That would have to mean that maybe is at the step that they need to kind of push more chips in this offseason.
They have a monster farm system. Yeah. They have so many good prospects.
I'm just talking about financially. Like, where would this team be? Where would this team be if they just signed Alex Bregman like we all wanted them to do? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I know the bullpen's kind of been the problem, but like you kind of had a wasteland at offensively too. Like, you missed another big bat. Like, Torkelson kind of turned it around. You had Riley Green, but you kind of could have used that guy like Bregman right in your middle of your lineup. Like, maybe this is the thing they need this offseason to go sign some money.
There are a lot of really good bats going to be available too. So my thing is the Tigers have enough interesting pieces to make a push for
absolutely.
Like, they have the Tigers have the tradable assets to try to entice the Pirates for Paul Skeens. They have enough. They have enough. I don't know if, again, and my thing, the Pirates should not trade Paul Skeens. Absolutely not.
Pirates will.
But again, we're gonna hit this because the Tigers have enough to go get anybody. Kevin McGonigal is arguably one of the top 5 prospects in baseball.
I don't think you trade McGonigal.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to trade him. That's the guy you can actually dangle for a level of player like Paul Skeens, because McGonigal looks really good.
It'll be
they have other guys too. They have a lot of really good bats.
They should do something for sure, but we'll talk more about that in the offseason for sure, depending on what happens here with them.
It's the good news for the Tigers fans, right? It's uphill. You're still rising up to the level you want to be here. But obviously, I would much rather be in the playoffs with, this season first. Let's get in the playoffs here. Then let's talk about free agency. And I think you still probably obviously need to add in free agency. Consider trading some of these prospects for major league talent. Be a better team next season, because you can very clearly run this division if you add and supplement to the current team, which is good enough to make the playoffs, but needs some help.
Yeah. So let's start talking about the legends so far. Let's start with Mike Trout.
I'm out of here. I'm not. We're good.
Yeah. Let's start with Mike Trout.
Good one.
Well, let's not get carried away here. Mike Trout finally hit his 400th career homer. He got to 398, I think, on August 6th. And he left us waiting for quite a while. He hit one in Seattle on September 11th to get there. He had one robbed in Colorado at the wall. And then the next day he had a 485-foot homer, to finally get to 400. All it took was a trip to Colorado, because of course it did. Absolutely. I mean, it's 59th all time is where he's at. Very easily can work his way up this list. I think who's ahead of him right now? It's Duke Snyder at 407, Mark Teixeira at 409, 412. So you get him another couple years. Let's say he's at 400. He has 2 more years that he can get up to the 40s-ish mark overall. But it's just good to see Mike Trout get to this thing. There was a lot of times we were worried about him with injury concerns and the knee issues and that, if we were ever going to see him get to these marks we kind of wanted to see him get to and expected. And obviously we had injuries, and we had COVID year also took a bunch out of there, but it's finally got to 400 homers.
It's really cool stuff. I hope that he's able to bounce back next year and the year after. He has not had a good year this year for Mike Trout standards. It's still been an okay year for just from an average player standpoint or something. But despite being as healthy as he's been in this decade, he's only put up 1.3 WAR and a 113 WRC plus. That's not Mike Trout numbers. A 32% strikeout rate, but it's been so long since he's had a full season. Hopefully this is something where after this season he could bounce back and maybe get to that 500 number at some point. Maybe he has a few more good years left in him. It's been really good to see him stay relatively healthy this year, and it looks like he's going to end up playing about 130 games, which is a lot more than he's played in a long time. So, it's awesome to see him hit 400. He's one of the all-time greats, and I hope he does get some more milestones, because he needs to be looked at as one of those inner circle guys with his career numbers. Although I don't know that a lot of old heads will look at him that way because of the lack of just the total number of hits, total number of home runs due to the injuries later in his career. So hopefully he continues to play at a level where he can stay in the league and keep racking up these numbers and get close to that 500 number and just solidify himself to everybody as one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah, I hear a lot of talk about the aging curve, and it is bitten nobody worse than Mike Trout. But this is the kind of guy that I think he's going to continue wanting to play the field. He's going to continue wanting to, if you can get this guy to move to kind of a perma DH spot where you just let him mash the rest of his career, keep him as healthy as possible. I feel really good that there's a lot more. There's still really good offense left in this bat. If you could just keep that back healthy, if you could just keep him off the field and in the batter's box as much as possible, you could really see some kind of, I would call it a renaissance, but I think for Mike Trout, it'd be more of a, just him. We already knew this was in Mike Trout, right? The kind of turnaround, where he could kind of pull a Nelson Cruz and just kind of mash for the next 10 years, really, and just keep on hitting. It's what I'd like to see. I don't know if it's possible, right? Again, the back is just such a tough injury to deal with. And, the fact that it's been as healthy as it has this year is a blessing. Got him to 400 home runs. I think 500 is well in play. He's under contract until he's 42, 41, 42.
Yeah. We'll see if the knee in the back holds up.
Right. He's under contract till 2030, actually. So never mind. He signed that 12-year deal in 2019 when he was 27. So he's under contract till he's 39. So 5 more years guaranteed because he's being paid like $40 million. So he's definitely going to play those 5 years. 20 a year, that's 500 home runs. Now, got to get to 20, got to stay on the field, but he hit 20 this year. I mean, he could do it again. So,
yeah, it's easy to forget how young he was when he signed that extension. He was, he came up at 20 and he was the best player in baseball at like 21 or 22 years old. So, he signed that deal when he was still in his mid 20s at the same time that, when like Juan Soto and Bryce Harper hit free agency, Mike Trout signed his deal. So, he's not signed he's not like the Albert Pujols deal where he was 42 and still under contract or something. It was a long-term deal, but he was really young.
I mean, at age 20 and 139 games, he put up a 10 more season. Like,
it's crazy, man.
And then he followed it up in 2013 at 21 with another 10.14 season. Like, he was 20 and 21 doing this, right? Like, it is, people will forget how good he was for that stretch from 2012 through 2019, basically. And even the 2020 season, he was still amazing that year in his 53 games. It's kind of went downhill after that, kind of. But, even then, like we saw in his snippets in 2023, in 82 games, he had a 135 WRC plus, 3 WAR, still hit 18 homers. Last year, in his 29 games, he had 10 homers already and a 140 WRC plus, right? Like, this is a guy who, I know he had a 113 WRC plus this year, but it's not that far away from still being a very productive hitter, right? And that's, I say, 140 last year, he was still batting 220 that like in 29 games, and he still had a 140 WRC plus. That's how good offensively he still was. I think there was a lot of change for him this year, right? You had the move to right field. That's obviously a big deal. Trying to figure out how to keep himself healthy and keep himself on the field there. How to manage your knee and your back. There's a lot of times where he's looked like he's got blown away with some fastballs, and it's like, oh, he's cooked. Like, he can't hit anything with velocity. And then all of a sudden he'll turn around high velocity again. It's like, all right, so it's still there. He's got to figure out how to, as he's aging, how to be able to put his body into those positions again, right? You see this all the time with hitters, especially good hitters. At a certain point in their career, they can't do everything they were doing when they were very young and that. So you have to find a way to adapt your swing. He's become a little bit too patient. I feel like he's trying to get too many walks now. Maybe a little bit more aggression does something for him. But again, it's just figuring out how to stay on the field. If you stay on the field, he's still going to give you 20 plus homer seasons and give you a above 100 WRC plus, probably close to 120, if not more, offensive production.
Yeah. So. And just because he's hitting that point in the aging curve where you start to see declines in performance, like, that's not gospel. Like, George Springer for the Blue Jays this year has been a complete revelation at like age 35. Like, George Springer didn't suddenly get better at baseball, right? But he stayed healthy and he refined his approach within a lineup that got better around him, and it galvanized him. So my suggestion for the Angels would be put some good players around Mike Trout. Get him some help in the lineup. Get him some teammates to play with.
That's definitely something too. Like, having protection in the lineup is like, in the Angels lineup, you're going to let anyone else beat you except Mike Trout.
Right.
Like, I don't care if Taylor Ward or Joe Adell beats me or Zach Neto. Like, go ahead, you guys beat me.
And those guys have been good.
They have been. But you guys are going ahead to beat me. I'm not going to let Mike Trout beat me. Right.
Again, too, with the injury, or the injuries he's had and the lack of playing time he's had over the last several years, like, just having this season where he's getting everyday plate appearances so many times, could really lead to him bouncing back too. I mean, just having that season under your belt, you're not quite as, it's not in the back of your head quite as much next year. Oh, I'm going to get injured every game, that kind of thing. Like, I got to lay back some so I don't get injured, all that kind of stuff. And I think he'll be better next year than he was this year. I think the talent's still there for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Ty here. I am not ready to talk about it because he is still here for one more start, probably. But
you don't think he'll get a playoff start? Even like he won't get he wouldn't get a wild card start, but like if they make the division series, like he gets a start in the division series, doesn't he?
Does he? I mean, you use 4 starters. You have Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Ohtani.
Somebody will be hurt by then.
Yeah, my thing is you can start Kershaw and have it still be an Ohtani start where you do 3 innings of Kershaw, 3 innings of Ohtani.
You can't, because Ohtani has to start or he has to come out of the game due to the rule. And I don't think Kershaw's coming out of the bullpen. Right?
That's not
like that's the thing. So yeah, and per the rule, Ohtani, if you are a starting pitcher and you're a DH, you can stay in the game after being a starting pitcher if you get removed. If you come in as a relief pitcher and you leave the game, you must leave the game as DH as well. So Ohtani has to start if he's going to pitch, unless he's doing a closer scenario and they're like 100% sure he's going to.
Yeah, I was wondering if they might do that with Ohtani in the postseason. That'll be interesting to talk about next week.
That's why he also said this week that he was willing to play the outfield, because if he relieves and something happens, he can go to the outfield technically. Don't think that's going to happen, but like he himself threw that out there randomly, and Roberts kind of was like, why'd you say that? Like, don't say that. But anyways, this is not about an Ohtani part of the show here. This is about Clayton Kershaw, because we need to recognize the excellence and the greatness of the legend Clayton Kershaw. There was grown man tears on Friday night in his last start at Dodger Stadium. I will let you guys say what you want about Kershaw. I will go on later because there's a lot I could say, but I don't want to say something you guys are going to say. So you guys go ahead and take that away.
Yeah, I guess I can start. I mean, Clayton Kershaw has been one of my favorites for a long time too. I mean, obviously I'm not a Dodgers fan, but just as a baseball fan, he's been incredible to watch. Just the way that he's built his game around the Sandy Koufax curveball has been, just the dominance that he had in the early 2010s with, seasons of a 1.83 ERA in 2013 and 236 innings, and then a 1.77 ERA the following season. And then he backed that up with a 2.13 ERA when he put up his career high of 8.6 wins above replacement. I mean, this guy, that's not even the season he won. That's not even one of his top seasons, when it comes to just the awards he won and everything. The guy was just an absolute monster on the mound, incredible player. I really hated to see him have some of the injury issues he's had over the past few years, because he was still performing pretty well when he was out on the mound. Especially, and even this year in his final season when he was not really expected to be a great pitcher for the Dodgers this year. I mean, he was kind of expected to come in and maybe fill that fifth role and have kind of a veteran presence and everything. He's got a 3.55 ERA in over 100 innings this year. He's in the 3,000 strikeout club. I think that if he had stayed healthy these last 4 or 5 years, he was able to continue to pitch for a couple more years. I mean, he could have gotten close to that 300 win club, which is something that we haven't really, not that baseball wins are that big of a deal to us, but just from a historic standpoint, there's not haven't been too much thought that we will get another 300 win guy the way that pitchers go now. So that would have been crazy. And just the fact that this guy has a career, the last thing I'll say, this guy's a career 2.54 ERA, and his career peripherals his career FIP is under 3 as well. And I just think it's remarkable, the career he had. And I know everyone wants to talk about his postseasons and some problems in the postseason. Well, the guy, he won 2 World Series rings. He's a phenomenal pitcher, phenomenal baseball player. And, just like we were talking about with Mike Trout, he's going to go down as one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, he is. And, I was going to say, Tariq Skubal sitting on about a 2.25 ERA right now, and Kershaw had a career ERA of 2.54. Like the difference of what quarter of a run from the best pitcher in baseball this season to Clayton Kershaw's entire career is.
It's funny you say that real quick. I don't want to cut you off, but real quick, just to lead to your point, this is one of the stats I was going to say. Clayton Kershaw's ERA in the regular season at Dodger Stadium for his career in 228 starts is 2.26.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Home Clayton Kershaw was always Tariq Skubal this season. Like that's unbelievable. But you do have Matt mentioned it, right? He did have the postseason struggles, especially early in his career. It defined a lot of the narrative around him. But what was never all of those playoff narratives, right? I mean, he gave up the home runs and the runs in Game 6 of the 2016 NLCS, right? And he struggled against the Braves later on as well. It was it's something that you couldn't even shake the dominance that he had in the regular season with a very valid postseason struggle narrative. Like he's still one of the best pitchers of all time. Even if they never win those World Series championships, like he still would have had that. And it was always there. Like we always think of like, well, who's some of the greatest pitchers of our generation? Well, Clayton Kershaw, number one. Like even with Justin Verlander, like coming back for another season, kind of announcing in the same week that, and when we get, well, I would say we'll probably get a Justin Verlander retirement tour next year, and it'll, we'll get that. But those have been the two guys, right? Surefire Hall of Famers.
Scherzer
from Max Scherzer would be the other one. But it's so remarkable that Kershaw. We'll do a comparison of the stats when those guys finally do hang it up. Like Kershaw's numbers are still better by a lot because Scherzer and Verlander have struggled pretty mightily down the stretch of their careers. And while Kershaw was worse, he was so much better in the good years that it's still going to look like he was always dominant no matter what. And I think that speaks so much to the dominance he did display in the early 2010s when, I mean, I was in high school, I was in college in those times, and he was just the perennial Cy Young. You could just write him in before the season and you'd be right. And it was, just an incredible thing to watch where we almost had a dead ball era kind of gone off because Clayton Kershaw was so dominant.
Yeah. So I was just let's talk about how he had 4 straight ERA titles, should have had 4 straight Cy Youngs if they did not voter kind of that one to R.A. Dickey in the one weird year where Kershaw still had more WAR than him. And then where Kershaw had a great year in 2015, but just happened to fall behind Arrieta and Greinke, his own teammate that year. If that was the case, it's still the case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight years finishing top 5 in Cy Young voting.
That's crazy.
Right? And should have had 4 in a row with 4 straight ERA titles. If you look at his career, we say in a season where he started more than 10 games, he had a season 2 times with an ERA over 3.5. Only 3 times, well, I guess 4 if you count his rookie year as well. 4 times did he have a ERA, or 3 times, sorry, with an ERA over 3.
Yeah.
Just discounting his rookie season. And the thing between Verlander and Scherzer, which we're talking about, which we compare all the time, Clayton Kershaw did this 18 years in one place in Dodger Stadium with some of the brightest lights.
I admire that. I admire that extremely highly. Though you can't complain that like Max Scherzer changed teams, right? And Verlander changed teams, but
the ability to means something.
Yeah, the ability to stay in one place your entire career to me is an undervalued aspect of being a star player in today's Major League Baseball, because you see a lot of guys chase the money. I'll never complain against a guy for chasing the money, but I always feel like a franchise is better if you have an icon.
I think it adds to a legacy.
Yeah,
a little bit if you are for one place. So I'll rattle off some other stats that I've seen on Twitter this past week of Clayton Kershaw, because I think these just put into words. It's going to do more justice than I can my words, right? As other than Kershaw's been my entire Dodgers fandom, basically. Like I've not known really Dodgers baseball without Clayton Kershaw in it. He started in 2008. I think I started in 2006, 2007, barely learning what baseball was. So at Clayton Kershaw's record is 222-96 right now. He was the first pitcher with 200 wins and fewer than 100 losses since Al Spalding and Bob Carruthers. Those two guys didn't pitch off of a mound. That was pre-mounds in Major League Baseball. Let me get to it. There have been 1,000 pitchers in Major League Baseball to make at least 150 career starts. Only one of them was more likely to deliver a scoreless start than he was to suffer a loss. Clayton Kershaw has 101 scoreless starts and 96 losses as of right now. Let's say that was 109 more starts than any other pitcher in Major League history with fewer than 100 losses. So he had 109 more chances to lose, and he still didn't lose any of those to get to 100. Some of his career numbers since his last Cy Young Award in 2014, 240 starts with a 2.59 ERA, a .978 whip, a 156 ERA plus, a 9.8 Ks per nine, which is a 27.7% K rate, and a 4.9 walk rate. This is the epitome of the best pitcher ever. Like, there will be that argument when it gets to the time, is Clayton Kershaw the best pitcher ever? I think as of right now, he still has the best ERA plus in history. I know it was like right there with Pedro. I didn't look it up since his last start where he gave up 2 against the Giants or something. But this is the best run preventing pitcher of all time, basically.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I can't wait to have that spirited debate, but I'll tell you, it's one of those where you can say something like that and neither Matt and I are like scoffing, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I think there's definitely valid arguments to be made for other pitchers, right? But if you're assembling a starting 5 of anybody in history, you're probably pitching Clayton Kershaw in that rotation. So, it's a matter of like, are you throwing him one, or who else do you want to get? Do you prefer velocity? Do you prefer control? Like, it seems like there's a lot of guys, a couple popular answers, but like this is a guy whose name is going to end up in that tier of player. And that's, even as someone who's watched his team both succeed and fail against Kershaw many times, like, that's mad respect. It's one of those things that's going to be fun to talk about because, I mean, we watched his whole career.
Yeah. That's also not to mention, we forgot to mention his MVP award in 2014.
Like, the MVP,
Right.
He and JV both got one of those.
I could go on and on about what Clayton Kershaw means to me and what he has done for my fandom of baseball. I will be extremely, extremely distraught through when we get to spring training next year and Clayton Kershaw is not there. Number 22 isn't always out there. I mean, I've had this thing for years where I literally just asked my mom, like, hey, do you know what day it is? She was like, oh, it's Kershaw Day. It's like, that's going to not be a thing anymore. Like, it's been so special. You can bookmark 5 years or 6 years, whatever it is, until we get to the Hall of Fame, we get to Cooperstown, and then I'll go on a rant about how some stupid idiot writer wanted to use postseason record and stats as why he didn't unanimously vote Clayton Kershaw into a first ballot unanimous Hall of Famer. But we'll save that for that day. I think we could the best way to end this is just saying, Clayton Kershaw, you are the GOAT. We absolutely respect what you've done. Thank you for what you have done for me, especially as a baseball fan. And we will not forget, for sure. But before we wrap that up and we get out of here, let's go to Player of the Day.
Player of the Day. I've got some players for us. I got we had a tie, and then we had a tie in the tie-breaking vote as well. So we're gonna need to decide who won that one. Trey Savage's first start was like a 5-inning, 1-hit, 9 strikeout start with no earned runs. And then Matt Olson hit 2 home runs that day as well, and they tied for votes twice. Yeah, we know you take Matt Olson. So Damian, who are we taking? Are we going to give it to Matt Olson, or are we going to slide it to Trey Savage?
Was it the Matt Olson day? I thought that was the Woods Richardson day.
It was Matt Olson. I had just looked at it.
Because I was going to say Woods Richardson over Savage, but I
think
it was.
maybe it's not Savage's first time then, because I thought it was just. I'll look it up real quick. Our other players of the day after that are Dominic Canzone for the 16th, Brandon Pfaadt for the 17th, Hunter Green for the 18th with a complete game shutout, one hitter, and then Trevor Rogers on the 19th. Nacho Alvarez took down the Angels fans yesterday. The Braves fans got a hold of it finally, so good to see some representation from both fan bases, especially in a year where not a whole lot has gone right. But Nacho Alvarez it was his first and second career home run to beat the Tigers and slow them down. And then, it was Simeon Woods Richardson, not Matt Olson. So somebody typed wrongly there. So it'll be.
Yeah.
So we would pick between Simeon Woods Richardson and Trey Savage.
Wow,
I have it.
That was the 11K game.
11 strikeout. Yeah.
Yeah. 6 innings, 11 Ks against the Yankees.
Yep. It's 6 innings, 11 Ks versus 5 innings, 9 Ks, but one of those is an MLB debut. So, a good story, but a stronger performance. Up to you guys.
I still think it's Woods Richardson. I mean, doing it against the Yankees too at the moment. Like, he's not been good in his MLB career either. So it's not like he's had backup performances that really have done him very well. So, I mean, Savage had a great game. I watched a lot of that. It was against Tampa, in Tampa as well. He looked really dominant. But I think what Woods Richardson did there, I want to give him the nod.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'm good with that. It was both of their first player of the day. Emmett Sheehan's probably going to pick up yesterday's as well. So between Simeon Woods Richardson, Dominic Canzone, Brandon Pfaadt, Hunter Green, Trevor Rogers, Nacho Alvarez, and Emmett Sheehan, who are we taking for player of the week?
I think it's got to be Canzone. A 3-homer game in Kansas City. I was watching that game too.
It's a good one. I think it's easily Hunter Green. Shut down the admittedly hungover Cubs, but one hitter, complete game shutout, 9 strikeouts. Absolutely filthy, dominant.
It's got to be
keeping
one of those
keeping the Reds playoffs hopes alive as well. Is what I think throws it over the edge for me, because I think that set the tone for the series, and the Reds won every game in the series and are now in a playoff spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Hunter Green, Canzone. It's hard to not pick Canzone because that was a super important game as well.
Yeah.
But I think just the impact that series between the Reds and the Cubs had on the playoff race, Hunter Green is. Just give it to him. He's great. So,
yeah, we haven't really even talked about Hunter Green all that much this season, but he's been pretty good. So, he's the kind of guy that he's come out and he's been on the poll a few times, but I don't know. I think that was his first poll win of the year. So, it's been a good season for Hunter Green, but I think we might get to see him in the playoffs, and to me that will, I think, make some new playoff fans of Hunter Green's, especially if he's playing the Dodgers and shuts down the Dodgers, because that would be beautiful.
Hope not.
Go Reds until they play the Cubs in the playoffs, and then I'll switch off
that. That if they play the Cubs in the playoffs, that means they beat my team. They beat my team, which means that I'm a fan of them. But yeah. Anyways, well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the Batflip podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we will be back next week to break down what has happened, what playoff teams we have. We'll have a playoff bracket finally, and probably give you our wild card predictions come next week. So don't forget to tune in there. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys back next week.